Here we go again. Today, I headed over to Three Brothers of Rockville Center to awkwardly try and take video in public, as well as see if they have good vegan pizza there. I want to preface this review with a bit of negative bias, simply because I was mildly annoyed by the whole situation of picking up the food. To elaborate, my dad was similarly annoyed and agitated with the driving because it was a long drive. And when we got there, there were a lot of winding roads and such that were very confusing, and all the shops around caused a lack of parking spaces. So I went in to get the food, and even though we had ordered 25 minutes in advance, they were still backed up. And the guy told me to wait on the tofu crab cakes, that they were frying them. They needed another 20 minutes. And, this was a bit confusing because, why would it take 20 minutes to fry some tofu? It's already cooked. But so I went back to the car and told my dad about the wait and the situation. And he told me to cut the crab cakes from the order. And I went back and did so, and the guy was nice enough to refund us. And you know what? What was a big surprise? I still ended up having to wait the 20 minutes, even though the crab cakes weren't taking an astronomically long time to fry. And as I was standing there awkwardly filming people and wondering why it was taking so long, they just took the pizza and slid it into the oven right under my nose. And I felt gypped. The guy gave an excuse and got away with it, sure. But you know what? It's a little upsetting to me that I get to try their crab cakes. So, the overall agitation of the experience may have negatively impacted my first impressions of the food and how it tasted. But what we did order was their Works Pizza, which was a version of the Supreme Pizza, as well as some oyster mushroom calamari and a chicken and artichoke fettuccine with a white wine sauce. After the hour or so trip back home, the calamari had become a tad bit soggy, but still had a nice greasy crunch. I already reviewed this in the other location, but I thought it'd be worthwhile to get it again just to see how the quality varies between locations. And also, it tastes pretty good. And moving on to the star of the show, the pizza. It had a very chewy crust with not too much crunch, which sort of left the entire slice as a mushy texture. And this obviously wasn't helped along by the soft, almost gooey nature of the toppings. They also had this thin film of flour along the bottom of the pizza, and when consumed, it combined with the saliva of your mouth and created this paste that coated the inside of your mouth and your lips, and leaving this weird sensation in your mouth. You had something that you needed to pick out, but you couldn't really pick it out because it kind of just stuck there. And it wasn't as bad as I make it seem, but come on, I don't want to eat barely toasted flour with my slice of pizza. And as for the final item we got, the fettuccine, they nailed the texture of the sauce, but the sauce was really bland and required copious amounts of salt, pepper, and whatever Italian seasonings we scrounged up in the pantry to carry the flavor. Without it, it would just be lukewarm, unsweetened cashew milk. I would also like to note that this supposed white wine sauce had 0 hints of white wine in it, so I was robbed of that boozy taste that I oh so love. So ultimately, the food was decent, but certainly not worth the hassle and drive in our case. I would say try to catch this place during a down day when there's not as much business, or during earlier hours, because otherwise parking and the wait will be insufferable. That's all for today's installment of Corey Critiques. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.